actually one of those ones I like to tell people, I like to discuss a lot. And the criteria is performance of leading or critical role in distinguished organizations. Okay, so the thing about this criteria is there are some keywords there, two or three keywords. Leading or critical role. They are two different things. So your role can either be leading or critical role. Then the other aspect of it is distinguished organizations. So which means that if someone wants to qualify for this particular criteria, there are two things. You may have a leading role. If the organization is not distinguished, then you will not qualify for it. But if you work in a distinguished organization and your role is not leading or critical, then you will not qualify. So two things need to be satisfied: leading or critical role, and the other aspect is what? Distinguished organization. So after these have been satisfied, then you just need to make that explanation. But how do you satisfy it? A lot of people usually do not know that their role is critical. And the way I explain to people is I tell them, this is not to belittle any work. Anybody that is doing any work within the labor market is important. You understand what I'm trying to say? But the way I explain it is, let's assume within an organization, or maybe you work within an organization, someone is a janitor and they are the one that basically cleans the room, the offices, the bathroom, and those kind of things. The question we ask ourselves is, this person within that organization, the role that person does, is it a critical role or not? We already know that role is not leading, but is that role critical? The answer is, it depends on how you look at it. If you understand your role and you understand the bigger impact of that role, then you can say that that role is critical. So for the janitor that cleans now, how can we prove that role is critical? For example, this person cleans the offices. The office the person is cleaning is a distinguished organization. Good. But think about it. What happens if this person does not clean the role, does not clean the offices, the rooms, the bathroom? It means that people run at the risk of getting infected with different diseases. People can get sick and people may lose their life. The general productivity in the organization, in the offices, is going to drop. In turn, it is going to affect the economy. So, can we see now how that role can be critical? Okay, another example I want to give is maybe not United States, but for example, in Nigeria, we have the big banks and we have security guards, right? That watch these banks. So these security guards, they stand at the entrance, they protect the building and those kind of stuff. And they maintain the orderliness. So you don't have those kind of things in the United States because everything is computerized. So somebody that is working as a security man in these banks, like in Nigeria and maybe other countries, are we going to say that that role is critical or not? If you ask me, the role is critical. And why is it critical? If this person is not there, this person protects the money in the bank. This person maintains orderliness. Which means that this person is not there. What is going to happen? What is likely going to happen is thieves and armed robbers, and a lot of people can come. They take the money. Banks are going to close their shop because people don't trust them again. Do we understand now? That role is critical for the bank. So the question now is, ask yourself, what do you do? Whether you're a software engineer in your bank, in any organization, your role is critical because you write the software that people are using. So understanding your role and how it fits into the larger context of the goal of the organization and solves the problem can allow you to know whether your role is critical or not. So not everybody is going to have a leading role. Leading role is clear. For example, if you are the CTO of a software company, Fortune 500 company, you are a manager there. All these kind of things are example of leading role. If you're a principal investigator of a research group, yes, it is a critical role. But if somebody is not a principal investigator, someone is somebody else within an academic institution, whether you are an instructor, for example, or you are a technologist, it doesn't mean your role is not critical. The question is, what do you do? What is going to be lost if you are not there? That is how you begin to look at it. If you're a product manager in an organization, your role is critical. You just need to understand what you are doing and how it fits into the larger context of things. Because you are the one that directs and shapes the product that is going to be built. Engineers know how to build the product. What is going to be built? and solving the actual problems for the users and the customers, you are the one doing that. And that role is critical. You are a project manager. You are managing the project, the risk, and defining the timelines. How much money is going to be needed? How do we mitigate the risk? And assigning those tasks. Their role can be critical. You understand what I'm trying to say? Think of somebody that is an administrative assistant to a CEO. Do you think this role is not critical? Without the administrative assistant to the CEO may not be able to function. So that person is doing an important work within the organization. So I don't know the work you are doing if you are watching this video, but what I know is if you work somewhere, you are not a student, you work somewhere, it is more likely that your role is critical if you really understand what you are doing. So again, I'm not saying everybody has a critical role, but it is more likely you have a critical role. I've talked with a lot of people, and when I talk with people and I've observed, they don't know their role is critical. And they write their petition eventually. I convince them, eventually they get it approved. They don't get an RFE for it. So you understand what I'm trying to say. But one aspect I want to talk about is performance. The USI has also used a plural form here, distinguished organizations. So it is very good if you have worked in more than one organization. But I've seen cases where people have only worked in one organization that is a distinguished organization, and they are able to do what? They are able to get approved. But again, in order to avoid RFE and those kind of things, it is better if you have worked and served in multiple organizations. So again, you don't need to be working in that organization. For example, let's assume you are a professional member in IEEE and you are the technical editor, or you are serving in one committee or the other. What you are doing can be critical or a leading role. IEEE that you are working or volunteering in with is distinguished organization. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So now, I just want to quickly talk about the evidences that is needed, or what do we mean by distinguished organization? An organization is distinguished based on its reputation and those things they have done. Have they gotten an award? I'm going to use a university as an example. A university, based on ranking, you can say that the university is what? Distinguished. Based on accreditations, you can say university is distinguished. Based on the fundings, the number of students that they graduate, the specialty in the university. But let's assume your university is not in even the top 500 university in the world or in the United States. Do we mean that the university is not going to be distinguished? No. You need to find a way to tell the story. For example, maybe your university or you are working in a department. For example, there are only about 60 universities in the United States that offer bachelor in robotics. You understand? There are a lot of other universities that do electrical engineering. So there are only 60. So if you work in any of these universities, not all these universities are top universities. If you work in any of these universities, you can see that your university has a lot of reputation. Maybe your university is one of the best universities in the states that you are. You understand? Not in the whole of the United States. You can see that the organization is distinguished. But the claim of distinguished or the reputation or the ranking is not going to come from, it's going to come from external bodies. So who are the people saying? Maybe they've gotten some media attention. All these things are the things they are going to gather. And just by digging down the web, searching the number of awards and those kind of things your organization have done, the impact they have done since they have existed, based on their number of years of existence, you can be able to prove your organization is distinguished. Leading role, like I said, these are senior position and leadership position. Critical role, these are roles that are essential to the organization's success. Like I explained, anybody that works in an organization is essential to the organization's success. Just like the janitor, the security man, and the administrative assistant. If they are not there, they have something they are doing that is allowing the organization to operate very well and to succeed. So you need to explain all these things that you are doing. At your project that you have managed, those are the things you talk to explain your critical role. Maybe you hold a senior position or leadership position of authority within your organization. So this can be director role, executive role, team lead, CTO, managerial positions. You have people under you. Then these are going to be leading role. The language is plain. If you have a leading role, it is very clear. But critical role, for a lot of people, it is not clear. And that is why I spent a lot of time to explain what critical role is. So critical role basically refers to a position that is essential to the organization's success. And like I explained, every role, everybody that works in an organization is essential to the organization's success. A janitor is responsible for the organization's success. Because if it doesn't clean, if the security man is responsible to the organization's success. A lot of people like that. So again, it is very good if you are overseeing key decisions, overseeing projects. And by the time you are arguing and telling this story, you are going to be giving examples of these projects that you are doing in a way that is crucial to the organization's objective. So that is what we are trying to say. So I've only used the janitor and the security man as an example in this case. Think about what you are doing, and you are going to see that, okay, how does it align with the organization objectives and help the organization? So does it help them make them more money? Does it help them solve a societal problem? Does it help them make save more money? You understand what I'm trying to say? So those are the kind of things that we are talking in critical role. So again, when you present the evidence, you need to tell us the overview of the role. This criteria, it always usually need a critical role letter, which means you are going to get a letter from somebody that is senior in your organization to also talk about how your role is important and what those things you are doing. Are there projects you are doing? What is the size of budgets of the projects you are handling and those kind of things. So you need expert letters. Usually it's very needed. So you give us an overview of the role, you document your role. What is the role? And explain how it is a critical role or a leading role. After you've done that, you now explain how the organization is distinguished. Again, for any claim you make, you need to bring the evidence. The onus of evidence is on you, not on USCIS. Even if you work if you're working in MIT, for example, is one of the top universities, and you are a principal investigator. By plain language, it is clear that you have a critical role and you work in a distinguished organization. But it doesn't mean it's going to be automatically approved. It is your job to explain how MIT. The officer is going to pretend as if they don't know what MIT is. It is your job to explain. So think about any organization you work. Whether you work for Microsoft, you work for Facebook, you work for JP Morgan, you work for any organization. It is your job to explain how the organization is distinguished. And you bring evidence, the rankings, those projects they have done, their contribution to the society. So you document all those things, how it is, and you now talk about your specific contributions and achievements within the organization. Are there internal awards you've gotten? The project that you have done within the organization. But as you are saying it, you need to also bring evidence that is external to you. That is where the critical role letter comes from. So maybe your manager or somebody senior in your organization is talking about the project you have done. So a critical role letter, there is a way you write it to. That is not just going to make it watery. Okay. So at the end of the day, you bring supporting documentation and you summarize all the evidence. I usually need a critical role letter. I'm just going to go through briefly what is expected to find in your critical role letter. The expert needs to introduce themselves. In the person writing the letter, okay, I'm the CTO, I'm the CEO, I'm the team lead, this is what I do. Then the person needs to talk about the relationship to you. Is the person your boss? Is the person your direct manager? The person needs to say it. And the person needs to describe your role in terms of what is your specific position, what is your influence, what are the key projects, the critical decisions, role and job responsibility you are doing within the organization. And what is the evidence of your leadership? That is what the person is going to write. This is not what you are writing. This is what you want to see in your critical letter. So usually when you get this letter, you are going to, maybe the person writes it himself. But when you are reviewing it, these are the things you check for. So it's not about the length. I mean, a good letter should be at least 1 page or more. But it's not about the length. It's about what is included. You understand? We don't want accolades. Accolades are not really what is important here. You need to describe what you actually do. Then the person needs to talk about the organization reputation. This paragraph on organization reputation is going to allow USCIS understand that the role is distinguished. Then those are the so the person needs to talk about the impact, how it fits into the general objective of the organization. And those kind of things you've done, how you have been a fantastic worker and those kind of things. So Then the person ends, conclude, how it makes you have extraordinary ability and those kinds of things like that. But we are going to be talking about high salary next. So sometimes if you are also targeting this criteria of high salary, the critical role letter can also talk about how you are earning a high salary. So if you are earning a high salary, the person now says that, okay, based on all this work that you are doing, you are earning a high salary because you have expertise in this field. You are one of the very top people that has risen to the top. So at the end of the day, it means that you are not just meeting the high salary criteria, but you are tying everything down with the USIs. And again, the general assumption is that this role that you are doing, this critical role or leading role in the distinguished organization, aligns with your acclaimed expertise. That is the assumption. You understand? So you cannot be claiming to be a data science expert, a data scientist with extraordinary ability, and your role within the organization is not related to data science. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that is very, very important in this case.